Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Ross on Cars. I'm Ross Furlong and this is a Land Rover Defender 110. Right, well, Defender 110, very pleased to get this in, not least because I reviewed the Range Rover about 3 weeks ago, which I loved. That was a great car. Obviously this is at a different price point, but do pretty much the same job in a sort of more rugged way. This one here is an HSE X Dynamic 300D, so it's a 3-litre diesel. It's about 300 brake horsepower, 0 to 16, 6.7. Not that that is particularly relevant for a car like this. It's more about how it goes about its business, I suppose. This one is a £73,000 list. It's got about 5k's worth of options on it. Carpathian grey paint is 1800. Diamond turn wheels 20-inch are 1000. This has got the extended exterior black pack, so it's quite nice. It's got a kind of Defender name on the front, is in black, and there's a few kind of like black gloss bits around the front and the back bumper, which really do lend for a very nice design. I mean, I think it's a very handsome looking thing. It's sort of growing on me actually over the 3 years since launch. It's a good looking car, and I think the interior is also very well spec'd out. So let's have a quick look at that. So the interior of this Defender 110, very nicely designed. It's not business class as the Range Rover I drove 3 weeks ago was. Obviously it's got much more of a utilitarian feel, and whilst you couldn't quite hose this out exactly when it got a bit dirty, it certainly feels easy to maintain. It's got lots of nods to the old Defender, so it's got, for example, windows in the roof at the back, and everything's really clearly laid out, easy to use. It's the screen from the Range Rover which we see everywhere. So I'm familiar with that. There's lots more buttons here, which for air conditioning and so on. This one has the comfort pack, which means that you get a little tray you pull off there, and they've got 2 drinks holders, and it's got a plate for charging your mobile phone and a refrigerator in there for your gin and tonic. One thing I don't like about this car particularly, in terms of the interior, are the seats. I mean, these seats are not particularly comfortable, I would say. Certainly compared to the old Disco 4 I had, which is a great armchair, and also the Range Rover I drove 3 weeks ago. They just feel a bit bench-like. I know that's very Defender-y, but you know, we are updating the old Defender, and I feel like maybe these seats could have been updated a bit more to make them a little bit more comfortable. It's not, it's not a deal breaker particularly, but it is worth noting that if you're thinking of buying one of these, have a seat in it and drive it around a bit and just see how you get on, because it might be because I'm very tall that I don't find them particularly comfortable, but I don't think they're great seats. My children, on the other hand, loved the seats in the back. They were in there this morning on the way to school. My son really loved it, though my 5-year-old managed to knock her head on the side of the door when we went around a corner, so yeah, maybe I should put her back in a baby seat, I don't know. I love the back tyre on the back door. Just, the idea of having a spare tyre like that's very reassuring to me. Whether you'd actually use it or not, I don't know, but just to be able to stick that on. We get lots of flats in the country. I think I've done about 5 flats already so far, passenger side, front, always, this winter. So potholes, country roads, terrible. So really good to have a tyre on the back, and I think it looks good. It kind of looks like the old Defender, doesn't it? Yeah. So anyway, that's enough about the interior. It's a good job, apart from the seats. Let's get it out on the road, and I'll show you how it moves. So driving this car feels, how's the best way to describe this? You feel very high up to start with. I think it really is feels like a big imposing beastie. You can see all the corners of the car, which is cool, and you can see also on the although the rear tyre is obscuring your view through the back, it's got this special mirror that you can flick over to camera, and then it gives you a clear view using the camera. That's very clever, and they call it clear view or something like that. it's big, but it's not, you know, it's not crazy big. It's not bigger than any other SUV I've driven recently. It really doesn't feel any bigger than a Volvo XC90 or that Range Rover particularly. And its road manners are really impeccable. I brought it home on the motorway yesterday from London, and it was brilliant on the motorway, really good. And also it was pretty fantastic on the A roads around here. Now, I actually overtook someone on A road here this morning, which I would never normally do. And that's you know, it gives you a lot of confidence that even on narrow roads, if you need to overtake, you can brush the version, it's fine. You know, you just feel it's just going to storm through. I don't know if you just heard that bonging there. No, this is something that I noticed early on when I got in. If you're getting on to things that aren't quite so good about the car, it reminds you of the speed limit. So there's a bong 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 noise that goes off, and it's relatively easy to turn it off once you know how. But when I first got in here, it was really quite annoying that I couldn't turn it off. So you have to hold down a button on the steering wheel and put it into low in terms of its interference with what you're doing, and that gets rid of it. But you do have to do that, I think, when you get in the car every time if you turn it off. So that could get old quite quickly. The other negative I had about the car when I got into it was the accelerator. The first thing I did when I pulled away, nothing happened. That's overemphasizing a bit, but there's quite a lot of play in the accelerator pedal before anything happens. So I was playing with this yesterday, so I'm just moving my my foot up and down an inch on the accelerator now, up and down, and there's no discernible change at all on the rev counter. So I don't know what they've done that. I don't know if that's to do with off-roading or something, but you don't get that instant sort of takeoff which you sort of expect. So I was a little bit caught out when I first accelerated away in it. It sort of, nothing happened, and then everything happened, and it was like, and then I had to stamp on the brakes, and you know. So it's I'd say that's a slight negative. And the third thing that bugs me is the seats. And they're not bad, but they're not, you know, Discovery 4, certainly not Range Rover level. Now you might say, okay, it's a Defender, it's meant to have more rugged seats and so on, but this isn't really like the old Defender. You know, everything's been upgraded, uprated. Still, it's a utilitarian vehicle, but I would have expected the seats to be a little bit more supportive. I mean, I've got long legs, but I've got no real lumbar support, thigh support. So my right leg is sort of, you know, holding itself above the accelerator, and it's not really very comfortable like that. I'd like a bit more support underneath my legs, and the seat feels a little bit short. It's okay from side to side, but you know, yeah, I don't think the seats aren't really the best. So that's three things that I don't like about it. But there's about 50 things that I do. And you know, it's a great big lovely Tonka toy. It looks great. Its road manners are brilliant. It's fantastic on the motorway. It's a great family car. You can have 7 seats. I actually quite like the look of the 130 because not only can you get all your kids and your dogs in, but you could also get some like ski bags and whatnot in there. I mean, that really would just, you'd be able to cart your whole life around in that. And also, I think the 130 from the side, if you look at the 130 from the side, although it's big, the proportions just make sense. It's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. The proportions on this one, the 110, I think, especially when you look at the 130, look a little bit chopped off at the back. I mean, it's hardly a thing, but you know, I just do think the back end looks a little bit chopped off now compared to the 130. Let's talk about price. 78,000 for this. I asked my wife earlier, what do you think a car like this should cost? And she's had, you know, a few SUVs. She's had an X5, the old Mercedes GL before it became the GLS, is it? and what was the other way around? And she's had a Volvo XC90, and based on those pricing, she thought, well, this car is probably 60 something, but no, it's really I'd say a good 15-20k north of where you'd really expect this type of car to be. They're only getting up into £80,000 of car. Quite easily do with this. Or let's imagine the V8 is over 100. You're solidly into Range Rover territory there. Well, I don't see it. I would get a Range Rover every day of the week and twice on a Sunday with this over this Defender, good though it is. I think the price point seems high. When you think about something like the Grenadier perhaps as an option for an off-roader, then maybe if you're in the market for that sort of car, you have a good look at the Grenadier or something and just see how it compares for the money. So yeah, I've enjoyed that. There's no doubt they're very popular. I see tons of them around here, and I think also in their favour is probably people who don't really want the Range Rover image to go around with. They don't want to look like Lord Snooty when they're driving around. This has, even though it's extremely expensive, still has a bit more of a kind of down-to-earth image. And yeah, fair play to Land Rover. They've really created a fantastic car. But I wouldn't buy one. Dramatic pause. I think I'm very interested actually in the Discovery 6. That's my next port of call. I love the Discovery 4. I didn't think I was. I had no plans for the Discovery 4 to love it. I just thought it would be a useful car to have for the school run. But it's brilliant, and yeah, it just surprised me. So hopefully the Discovery 6 will be up there. That's enough of me wittering on. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I think I'm going to get this thing back to London now. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Ross on Cars. If you did, press like down below, and please subscribe because we've got some fantastic cars coming up. Hope to see you soon.